What's up, everybody, and welcome back to an impromptu Spectator Mode podcast, episode 107. And you're hearing this one before 106, which is currently being edited. I'm joined with my buddy here, Karl May Smart.
Yo.
And this podcast came about because there's some discourse happening right now on the internet. Of course, you know, when discourse happened, it means a topic came out, and of course, everybody on the internet wants to talk about it. And today, this one was regarding an article written by Kotaku and also PC Gamer. Now, they talk about a pair of emulators that have been making the rounds for a while, Nintendo Switch emulators, and both of these emulators were shown off running Metroid Dread. Of course, Metroid Dread is the latest Metroid game from Nintendo, and this has sparked yet another debate on the internet about emulation and piracy. And of course, my buddy here is a big fan of the retro gaming, and of course, I saw this happening this morning, and I was like, I wonder if Karl's going to hit me up about talking about this topic. Nah, he can't be bothered by that. And of course, he hits me up like, let's go. We got to talk about this. So we're here to talk about this topic because there's a lot of crap being said on the internet that is not exactly true. Karl, I'll let you take it from here.
So for those of you who have been listening to the Spectator Mode podcast, and you should because we're everywhere that just about you can put a podcast these days, I have been a very big fan of retro gaming and doing things to consoles in order to subvert the second-hand market. I own a lot of gaming consoles more recently, going through from the original Nintendo and owning just about everything up to the current consoles of the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, with few exceptions here and there. Like, I still can't get a Sega Saturn for under like $800. It's ridiculous. But one thing I've always been a big fan of is the way that we can get stuff working on the actual console hardware these days. Now, there are things out there, I'm not going to name the products, but there are certain cartridges which you can put an SD card in and you have an entire collection of games. I also have a Dreamcast that does the same thing. I just replace a CD reader with an SD card reader. I have my PlayStation 3, which I have modded with custom firmware in order to run things that I have been able to acquire from the internet. Basically, pirated games, or ROMs, or whatever you want to call them. For me, because I'm running these on the original hardware, I don't see them in the same vein as emulation. Emulation is basically trying to recreate the effects of the original hardware via another system, which is why a lot of emulators are on PC. Now, there are a lot of gray areas when it comes to emulation as to what is legal, what is not. Obviously, having collections of ROMs that you play, or even worse, if you distribute them, are considered illegal because they are pirated copies. They are not official copies from the publisher. Where a lot of discourse has come in, especially in regards to this article, is you've got two very well-known gaming websites who have come out and basically said, hey, if you don't want to play this, but pay for the Metroid Dread, here's a couple of ways you can play it for free. Which, I'm sorry, I cannot condone that.
That's stupid.
At all.
It's completely stupid. Completely stupid.
Yeah. And I come from the generation where I've lived through some of the biggest pirated eras in gaming history. The DS, the original PlayStation 2, the original Xbox 360. Those were consoles where you would go out and you would buy pirated games or download them through the internet and put them on the CDs yourself. If you doing those things back in the day, you were considered a renegade and everything. But no, you're a thief. Pure and simple. I was one of those people. I'll firmly admit it. During the age of the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, when I had them, I had a bigger pirated game collection than I had a legitimate game collection.
How dare you? Damn.
No. I'm a thief. I'll admit it. I was a thief at the time because I was taking money that should have gone to developers and putting it in the hands of people who had nothing to do with the game, essentially. I was taking money out of retail stores. which is a terrible thing to do, especially in the current times where economies are having a hard time even staying afloat, given the state with the cough and everything else. I changed my ways with the PlayStation 3. My entire game collection was legitimate up until recently. The only reason why I have gone back to those pirating ways, those thieving ways with the console, is because, one, they are considered dead consoles. Because no new games are being produced for them. The company barely even runs updates on them or anything like that. So it's up to either I go out and I pay exorbitant prices on eBay, Gumtree, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, where games are now going for 2 to 3 times what they retailed back in the day. I'm sorry, I'm not paying 2 to 3 times retail to relive my childhood.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing that. I'm not doing it either. That's just crazy. But let's get back to. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to spread some knowledge here for people who listen to the show, because a lot of people are going, "Oh, you shouldn't emulate games. Emulators are bad. Nintendo needs to do cease and desist." Guys,
nope.
Companies have tried to do this for years. Sony did this multiple times and they failed because emulators are not by themselves illegal. You're allowed to have backups of your game, your movies, anything you legally buy. You're by law, at least in US, you're allowed to have a backup of it. Emulators are not illegal. Now, downloading ROMs off the internet, that is illegal. And the biggest thing about all this right now is people coming out and going, "Hey, you can emulate Metroid Dread or download these ROMs." Now, if it was possible for me to rip my actual Metroid Dread, I could play it legally on my PC because I own that copy. Yes. I purchased it. So that, in a sense, is not illegal. The people who ripped Metroid Dread to work on emulation, if they ripped it by whatever means, because people can do that using a hack switch, if they purchase it, they are by means within the rights to do what they're doing. And I'm not going to lie and say, "Hey, Metroid Dread running on the PC using an emulator does not look sexy." It's great. I love to see games that are meant for the Switch or for the PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 3 running on PC and showing that, hey, we can run this better. There was no issue. There was no discourse when all of a sudden Demon Souls was coming out for PlayStation 5, and of course everybody wanted to go back and play Demon Souls on PlayStation 3 and realized it ran like crap. Then everybody was talking about, here's how to run Demon Souls on the PC in 4K, and there was no problem. Nobody had a problem with this. It was perfectly fine. Now that it's Metroid Dread, a game that just came out a couple days ago, okay, there's a problem. And that is correct. But the thing here is, you can't say, hey, doing this one game is okay, and then having an article about this being okay, and then having a game that just came out a couple days ago and somebody read an article as being wrong. If they didn't put a link to the actual ROM, if they didn't say, here's to download the ROM, and all they did was say, hey, there's a guy on YouTube showing you how the game runs, or hey, here's a link to the actual emulator, they did not do anything wrong. If they showed you where to download the ROM, okay, that is a completely different story. Yes, they should know what they're doing. That is completely illegal, and then somebody should go after them.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have two of the biggest gaming websites sitting there essentially advocating piracy and theft.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That is a huge problem.
Yeah,
they should have known better.
That is the bigger problem, and that's been the thing that a lot of people have come out. Like, I follow Andy, who runs Video Games Chronicle. And he did this huge thread about how this was like a terrible idea, like the way Kotaku has handled itself, or PC Gamer as well, have handled themselves in this regard, and then going back and changing the article to try and save face. It shouldn't have even been a thing in the first place. An article like this appearing on a major gaming website is not a good idea, especially when it is for a current generation game like Metroid Dread that had only come out a couple of days ago. To turn around and say, oh, people have already got this out there to pirate, or people have already got this running on emulators, they're basically turning around and saying, somebody has ripped this, it's out there for free if you want it, and here's how to play it on your PC, or here's how to play a pirated copy. You don't give people the method on how to do these things. And that's exactly what they've done. Like, if you were reporting on the emulator itself and not linking to the website, which they did, then, there's a little bit of a difference there, is that they're talking about the technology and the coding behind it rather than essentially doing an advertisement saying, here, go out and pirate one of the biggest games that's come out this month.
So I've seen articles just like this in the past on various websites, and what they did is they would come out and say, "Hey, I mean, even with Super Mario Galaxy or any of the recent games on Switch, or even when the Wii and Wii U came out, they came out and said, "Hey, we've seen this game running on PC. It runs fine. It looks great. If you're asking us where to find the stuff at, we're not going to tell you." Hey,
yeah, that's all it takes.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
That's all it takes. Like, I even was planning an article for the Outerhaven for a time where I was going to talk about the console modifications or the way SD card readers can run with compatible consoles. Now, I wasn't going to tell people where to get them from. I would name the product, but it's up to you to use Google to go and find them. That's your prerogative. And again, a lot of the use of these things that I do these days is simply for preservation and for my own personal use. I'm not distributing anything. I'm not going out there and saying, hey, you must go and do this. I'm just saying, like, instead of turning around, great example, I recently spent probably about close to $200 on 4 Super Nintendo games.
They should spend $500,000 on one cartridge.
Well, that's it. Some of these cartridges can go for insane prices. Trying to track down a copy of Silent Hill 1 on the PlayStation right now is $350 or higher in Australia. There is no way known I want to play that much for that game. No way known. So I'd rather use my PlayStation, which can run either an SD card or it can run backup CDs or read-write CDs, and play Silent Hill that way.
You know what's funny? All these people again crying about emulation and saying it's bad. You know that Nintendo uses emulators for their Super Nintendo Classic and NES Classic. That Sega used an emulator on their Genesis, whatever the hell it's called. I don't know what it's called.
There's 3 different emulators on the Switch.
And they're not even Nintendos. They're not even Nintendos.
Yeah, Nintendo went and modified.
They took somebody's code without asking them and used it.
Yep.
How's that?
And yet Nintendo is allowed to get away with it because they're Nintendo. It's stupid. It's a dumb idea. Like, I'm sitting here right now, and I put it out there on Twitter when this was breaking earlier today, that I will do anything from PS3 backwards via either emulation or, if I can afford to do so, using some sort of reader on using the original console.
I saw this come out today, and I was like, yeah, I am not getting involved whatsoever. I am not. I learned my lesson. Certain discourses on the internet, I just go, you know what? It's not worth fighting. It's like the yelling at an echo chamber. Some people will listen to you. Some people will not listen to you. Common sense goes out the window. And I was like, you know what? Yep, I am not. Nope, done.
But the thing is with the common sense is that you need to have common sense. As a Deadpool meme for quite a while ago used to pop up, is that common sense is now a superpower. Because not that many people are using common sense these days. The way I see it, and this will be the way I'm going to leave it because we want to keep this nice and short, is if you're using emulation or modification for older consoles, say PS3, Xbox 360 and backwards, then I don't see as much of an issue with it because the companies aren't supporting these consoles anymore. The games are now becoming harder and harder to buy at decent prices. So unless you're one of those people with very deep pockets, maybe start looking at alternate routes. If you've got like an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X or S, or even a Nintendo Switch, Should you be looking into modification? Should you be looking into emulation? No.
No, not at
No.
all. Don't even think about it.
Because every time you go to download a game from that era and get it running on an emulator, you are taking money and food off the table of very hard working developers who put months, years into these games. You should, support the industry while the industry is being supported.
And in the case of Metroid Dread, the last time we got a Metroid game was a very long time ago. Show Nintendo that we want Metroid games, and maybe, just maybe, they'll give us an F-Zero game. They're not going to do it, but it's one of those things.
Maybe they'll give you, more new games rather than doing what they have done in the past, which is just porting over everything that didn't sell properly in the last generation.
Yeah, it's just a bad idea. I don't know. It's bad taste for Kotaku and PC Gamer to even do this. But I don't like the fact that people are going after the writers.
No, well, but that's the thing. It's either someone in management or the writer themselves has taken the prerogative to write this story. They made the fuck up. They actually deserve the criticism.
Okay, well, look at it this way. We're a smaller website. You write an article, you go, hey, Keith, I'm going to write this article. And I'm going to go, okay, all right, what's it about? XYZ. And I either go, no, that doesn't sound like it's a good idea. Or, yeah, that's a great idea. Go ahead and do it. At these websites, somebody okayed this article. This article got proofed by somebody, and nobody came back and went, oh, this might be a bad idea. All they heard was, this is going to bring us a lot of clicks to our website. And it sure did. But it also brought a lot of controversy right now.
Well, as Eric Bischoff used to say, controversy creates cash.
Oh, it's definitely converting clicks right now. They got some cash.
That's it. You're getting the clicks, they're getting the cash. A lot of people have said that they have viewed this article with ad blocker on, which means like Kotaku isn't going to make the money because their site is, oh my god, it's slathered in ads these days. It's ridiculous. Again, they're looking at the clicks rather than what they're going to get in the terms of backlash. And this isn't the first time they've done it either.
I mean, even with
very notorious for this type of behavior.
Even with the new editor-in-chief of Kotaku, which I'm not really sure about, and no disrespect to that person, but there are a lot of articles that have come out of Kotaku that's like, yeah, maybe you should not have wrote that article. And I'm not saying they're not a good site. That's neither here nor there. I'm not going to tell you if I think they're a good site or a bad site, but there's just some things that you should not write about. There's a lot of things that have come out of that camp that are very questionable, and just add this one to the pile. PC Gamer, you know damn well better. You know better. Yeah. I know some people at PC Gamer. You know better than this. Yeah. This was a bad
PC Gamer, I'd hold more higher standard than Kotaku.
But yeah, Nintendo's not going to go after PC Gamer or Kotaku because what are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to go start writing about emulators. They're not illegal. We can talk about them all we want. They're not illegal. I can show you where the websites are. Nintendo's not going to go to these emulators and go, hey, stop working on this emulator. Because, again, gray area, they're not illegal. How you acquire the ROM is the questionable part.
Yeah. And even advocating something like Metroid Dread being on an emulator at all.
There's no reason.
Essentially, there's no reason to advocate it. And at the same time, that's advocating piracy.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people have come out and said, that's a dumb idea. Why have they done it?
Well, yeah, that's the big
they've done it because it gets some clicks.
That's the big thing right there. Yep.
And for some reason, Kotaku seems to be embracing this, to use a wrestling term, their heel persona, where they are now becoming a very hated company in the industry. They've done it with Far Cry 6 when they weren't invited to a preview night, and they started ragging on Far Cry 6, which probably means they wouldn't have gotten a review copy when it came out. They're starting to try and burn bridges to make themselves into this big controversial website in order to get the clicks. And at the end of the day, like, people are now going, I hope to God people start turning away from sites like Kotaku and go to your more independent-based outlets. I'm not saying that people should come to the Outerhaven. Believe me, I'd love if people come to us. But
people hate us. We're the heels.
Well, fine. I like being a heel. But I would just hope that people start turning away from these websites like Kotaku that don't really care about the gaming audience in general, and are just trying to do everything to piss everybody off.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
it's getting ridiculous.
This is a bad look. As much as I sat here and I went, and I'm this is me being honest. I don't have an issue seeing Metroid Dread running on the PC, saying, "Hey, we can do this." I have a problem.
So, hey, one of those emulators got running at 4K. You know, hey, that's
great stuff. That is great stuff. Emulators have come a long way.
Yeah,
I have a problem
because if an emulator is now doing better than the Nintendo hardware, well, where's our 4K Switch, Nintendo?
My issue is, again, it's advocating, hey, you can go download these things. Because, let's be honest, emulation, and not even emulation, let me back up. Full go, piracy, people are going to hate me for this, is not hurting the industry as much as people think. Because let's think about this. How many people can actually find this stuff and then actually have the know-how to actually play it? It's the same crap we hear every generation. Piracy's hurting generation. It's hurting sometimes, but there have been developers that said, "Hey, we would rather you pirate a game than what was it? Who was selling it from G2A? I would rather you pirate my game than actually buy it from this scummy website." And I'm not saying go pirate people's stuff. No, I would say, especially this generation, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Switch, Xbox. Right now, you should not be emulating. There's zero reason to emulate this stuff. There's no reason to emulate any of this stuff right now. There's none. Now, in 20 years, when the Xbox Series X and the Switch and the PlayStation 5 are dead and gone, and okay, fine, you want to play Metroid Dread and you want to emulate it because you can't find it anywhere, and okay, fine, good luck finding it. In 20 years, you won't likely find it at all anymore. So enjoy that, but yeah, it's a really hard subject for me because, again, I like pretty things. I like seeing games being run at the highest fidelity, and that video showed me that.
That's the other thing though. Like, emulation does have some positives. You know, as you said, we've seen an emulator that is running Switch games in 4K, which shows that a 4K Switch is possible. It just means Nintendo. It means that Nintendo might have to start doing tweaks to the software and encoding and everything else to.
No, Nintendo needs to give us better hardware. I mean, these.
Well, that is indeed true. You do need a beefy PC in order to.
Well, I mean, some people were running it with RTX 1060s or GTX 1060s, but this is still hardware that's better than what you see in a Switch. So yeah,
exactly. But like, take a look at. Also, there's one that's like I know it features a duck as a part of its branding for the PlayStation.
I'm sorry.
It's like I think it's called like Duck Station or something like that. It actually takes PlayStation games and upscales them and fixes, like, does all these nice little tricks to smooth it out. It has PlayStation 1 games looking like PlayStation 2 games. Like, the nice big bumps in fidelity and like frame rates and stuff like that. And emulation can do all this. That's the magic of emulation, is that you can do some great things. Hell, look at the Nintendo 64 emulators. There's ones there where you can add mod packs and texture upgrades and change things completely. Anybody who has played any of the wrestling games on a 64 emulator might know things like WCW 2.0 or WWE versus Ring of Honor. So where people have completely transformed the game into a brand new game because an emulator allows them to drop in texture packs and new characters and stuff like that. It's amazing what emulators can do. But at the same time, it comes down to people's morals and common sense.
Pretty much, guys. Don't download Metroid Dread. Don't put articles how to download these games. I don't have a problem if you doing emulators. Fine. People can find them anywhere anyway.
Yep.
Stop fighting and say emulation is bad. It's not bad. Stop saying you're not allowed to play games you download. Not download, but if you're able to rip yourself. Because, again, legally, you're allowed to do that. We keep going back and forth with this. The justice system, the court system in the United States keeps going back and forth with this every time this comes up. And every time there's not a verdict because they already said, hey, if you own this, you can make a backup of it.
Yeah.
I mean, look how far back we're going.
I'll say this as well. And this is one segment we haven't brought up at all. is PC games.
Oh no.
I'm
I don't
sorry,
want to talk about
ladies and
PC
gentlemen,
games.
there is no reason to go out there and pirate PC games in this modern age. When we live in places where we get things like G2A, Steam, and everything else, where you can pick up games from 10, 15 years ago for $1.
I'll buy that for $1.
Spend that dollar. You know, if a new game comes out on PC, don't download it and pirate it. Oh, because I just want to see if it's worth buying.
Yeah.
You're gonna either buy it or don't buy it. Or, you know, there's these things called reviews. There's tens of thousands of reviews on YouTube these days. There's websites like ours that review games on everything. Console,
even better,
PC.
you buy it on. Even better, dude. You buy it on Steam. You play it for an hour. You don't like it, you get a refund. Done.
Exactly. There is no reason to pirate PC games in this modern age. If you're wanting to get something like back from the DOS days or something in the early CD days that won't run on modern systems without a lot of patches or
there's archives for
something,
that,
or something like that, then yeah, there's archives that you can go and play it on your browser or something like that. You know, go do it that way. That's fine. Older stuff, nobody is going to have an issue whether you download it, buy it, rip it yourself, or whatever. If it's older games that you can't get without having to like take out a home loan in order to buy a decent collection, go do what you got to do. That's your choice. With modern stuff, no, straight up, no. Don't pirate. Don't go into don't go into the adage of, oh, I'm going to get a Switch emulator and I'm going to download a game that was only exclusive in Japan or something because I can't be bothered importing it. No, there are plenty of sites out there that import these games. Play Asia. You can get them for decent prices. So there's no more excuses in this modern world to turn around and go, I cannot buy this. If you can't buy it, then don't buy it. Don't try and justify being a thief because my wallet is poor. Okay? If you can't afford it, save your money.
Need to play it. Yeah, pretty much.
Save your money or wait 6 months to a year when it's going to be like half price or less. You know, I picked up Spider-Man Miles Morales, the Ultimate Edition, $150 Australian at launch for the PS5. It's now going for $75. Boy, do I feel like a sucker now.
But you said it, not me.
I am now willing to pick games, like a few dozen games every year, where I will sit there and I'll wait for the price drop before I will buy them. If I can't get them through a review code or I can't afford them myself, I'll wait for that price drop. I'm still waiting for Assassin's Creed.
Oh, forget that. You're not. That's not happening, dude.
Was it Valhalla to get below $50?
Nope, that's not happening. That's going to stay up there.
They
don't go down.
Close. It's getting close. But like, I can understand some people with Nintendo products are like, they never go down. Bullshit. Go to Amazon. Like,
I'm not gonna.
There might not be much of a retail drop.
Yeah,
but Amazon's always dropping prices lower than what retail is. It might not be much, but hey, saving a few dollars is better than saving no dollars.
But I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is, don't emulate the Switch games right now. Don't download them. I mean, just stay away, please. Don't do this. You're opening yourself up for more nonsense for the big websites. Don't write about this stuff. If you talk about emulation, talk about you seeing it running, talk about it's great, talk about you're happy to see it going, you're happy to see emulators doing what they can do. Don't advocate piracy because that's pretty much what you did at the end of the day. And I know there are a lot of people on the internet that are going, this is bad, and yet they're in the back going, I'm playing my game on my PC right now because people on the internet are two-faced. Yeah, don't do that either. Don't come out and say you're not doing it. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's bad. It's bad.
Like, believe me, I got tempted. I got tempted after reading this article to go and grab one of those emulators, and believe me, I can find a copy of Metroid Dread if I really wanted to. I could be sitting here right now playing it on my PC, but no, I'm not. I'm not a big Metroid fan, so I will wait and see. I will wait and see if I can get it during like a sale. I may wait for Black Friday and see if it goes on sale for cheap, and then I'll buy it.
I got my copy of Metroid Dread Special Edition thanks to my buddy from the website. Thank you, Will. Screw you, scalpers. I got one.
Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, people can choose what they want to do. We're just saying that it's probably best in this current climate when you have no excuse to pirate that you should not pirate. And websites should not be advocating piracy in any way, shape, or form.
Oh.
And also, emulation is not a bad thing. It can be a good thing in some cases, but at the same time, use your emulation the correct way.
If you don't like emulation,
if you can rip your own games, then rip your own games.
If you don't like emulation, don't pay for Nintendo Switch Online because you're paying for an emulator. You're paying for an emulator. You're paying for an emulator. Think about that for a second. You're paying for an emulator to play your games.
And don't buy any of these remakes or remasters either, because essentially you're paying for an emulated version of a game.
Oh my god! And don't forget, some of those ROMs that Nintendo uses weren't even the ROMs they had. They were using ROMs they found on the internet.
Yep.
Think about that for a second.
Yep.
I think I'm done. I think we beat them over the head about this this subject enough.
Don't be naughty boys and girls, or else we will
tell Nintendo.
We'll tell Nintendo on you.
And they'll shut your emulation site down. Oh, wait, they tried. They can't. Ha! They'll shut down ROM sites, though.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Damn it.
And yes, this podcast...
R.I.P. Emu Paradise.
This podcast is coming out before 106, which is being edited. It's a 2-hour podcast. You'll have it either Monday or Tuesday. But this one is coming out because we just wanted to talk about and I'm air quoting here, the discourse. Because it's crazy out there right now. Take this. You might need this. Oh, boy. All right.
Listen to the old folks. We know better.
I'm not old. Oh, God. It reminded me of a scene from Endgame. Listen to your mom. She knows better. Oh, God. I'm a dad joke. All right. Anyway, thanks for checking out Spectator Mode Podcast. You can check out this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Amazon Music, and where else great podcasts are. If you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating. It helps us rise up, and the more people see us, the more ratings we get, we'll make it to the top of the ladder, and then we'll take over the world. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and if you have any questions, comments about this podcast, please hit us up at the Spectator Mode Podcast, or hit us up on Twitter. You can hit me up at ShadowHaxer. You can hit up Karl at
the Mace Thing,
or at the Outerhaven, or even better, just hit us up at specmode@theouterhaven.net. Thanks for listening.